Welcome back, dude and dudettes, to another wild episode of Send It Mate. We're here to talk about all things hunting and outdoors. And today, we've got something that'll keep your gear running smoother than a dingo's getaway.
That's right. Our show is brought to you by High Caliber, the gun and knife oil company that knows how to keep your firearms and blades in tip-top shape.
High Caliber is like the secret sauce for hunters, anglers, and outdoorsy folk everywhere. It's like the magic potion that makes your gun and knives happier than a dog with two tails.
You know, guys, I've been using High Caliber oil for a while now, and let me tell you, it's the duck's nuts. My rifle practically sings a lullaby when I take it out hunting.
And speaking of lullabies, ever tried sneaking up on a deer with a squeaky gun? It's a prime way to end up with no venison in the freezer. You'll be hungrier than a vegan at a bacon festival.
Absolutely. But with High Caliber oil, your gun will be quieter than a ninja in moonlight. You'll be stalking your prey with the grace and stealth of a mountain lion.
High Caliber doesn't just keep things quiet, it also prevents rust and corrosion, so you won't find your gear looking like it spent a season at the bottom of a creek.
That's right, and for you knife enthusiasts out there, High Caliber has got you covered too. Your trusty blade will slice through anything smoother than butter on a hot biscuit.
So, folks, don't let your gear become a rusty, squeaky mess. Head on over to highcaliber.com.au and grab a bottle of their oil today.
And if you use the code SENDITMATE at checkout, you'll get a special discount. I say again, use the code SENDITMATE for all your oil slick, stealthy hunting needs.
Thanks to High Caliber, you'll be sending it in style and silence.
So, gear up, oil up, and send it, mate. High Caliber, the ultimate oil for the ultimate hunter. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Send It Mate podcast. I'm Couchy.
I'm Caleb.
And I'm Josh. Hello!
That sounded a lot better in my head before I said it.
That's the level of excitement we're after, Couchy. He's slowly nailing the intros. He's getting there over time.
But you immediately resorted to a British accent with the hello!
Hello!
Oh,
Yes.
God.
Well done, mate. Well, British accents are no good today because we've actually got another international guest.
Hell yeah. From the only country that should exist in the world.
From a place that probably thinks it's its own country, not just a state, all the way from Texas. We've got Logan Fuller, who, if you guys remember back, what was it, last season, I think? We had Chris Heenan on, who's a mate of Josh's, and we have his missus on tonight.
We do.
Which, it's going to be exciting. He actually said to us that she's more interesting than him. So,
Look, Chris is pretty interesting, so it's setting the bar pretty high.
So no pressure, but Logan, how you going? Welcome.
I'm good. Thank you all for having me.
Anytime.
I still can't get over the American accent. It's just awesome. At least you have a decent accent. But
I honestly, I don't think that I have an accent at all. So it always cracks me up to hear other people say that. They're like, you have the coolest accent. I don't think I have any.
What I love about the sort of American slang is the y'all. I don't know what it is, but I just like it.
you could start doing it too, you know.
I think I've said it a few times, just saying it and coming out with it. I'm like, oh, fuck.
It's funny how much we adopt from America, actually, like in our slang and our speech and things. It is good. It is good. Anyway, Logan, how's your evening?
Oh, it's nice and it's finally starting to cool off. I think fall is finally here, but can't guarantee it.
It gets cold in Texas.
I mean, we have a few days of actual cold, but that's about it.
I watched Demo Ranch a lot on YouTube, and I think he lives in Texas now.
Yeah, I think he lives a few hours south, down in like the hill country, so like outside of Austin.
Oh, so and it snows there?
Sorry?
And it snows there? Because I remember seeing a video the other year and it snowed.
We've had a few years where it's actually snowed. Last year was Snowmageddon, so the entire state shut down. It was bad. It was really bad. Thousands and thousands lost electricity. It was an interesting time, but that happens very rarely here. So
But the fact that it snowed in Texas, that still sort of baffles me. Because when, I don't know, from people that haven't been to Texas, we think sort of a little bit arid climate, similar to South Australia. I mean, you might have your hills that are sort of a bit green, but then you get a bit further into the territory and it sort of flattens out and gets a bit sparse and a bit desert-like. But that's just, I don't know, that's my perception of it, and I'm pretty sure that's a lot of people's perception of it. But so I never thought it would snow in Texas. How'd you cope with it? Did you lose electricity?
No, luckily we were on the hospital grid, so that one rarely ever goes out. But yeah, we were housebound for about a week with dogs and cats, and that was a lot of fun.
Sounds like good preparation for COVID.
Yeah. Well, it was during COVID.
So in terms of like snowfall, how much did you guys have like visibly out the back or front, whatever?
So we had a really thick layer of ice, which is what took most of the power lines down, and yeah, X, Y, and Z. But I want to say there was 2-3 feet in most areas, which is absolutely insane. Obviously, Texas, we don't have the infrastructure for anything like that. Like, we don't even have salt trucks. So, yeah, 2 to 3 feet in most areas, and everything shut down, and no one did anything for about a week.
Just wait for it to thaw out.
Yeah.
Bloody hell. Wish it snowed here. That bit brings a question, really. Maybe, what's that called?
I don't know. Eventually it's going to bring a question.
What's it fucking called? The climate change is real. That's the one. Must be. Surely.
I don't know. Is this a question to Logan?
Yeah, it was my question. Sorry, it was more of a statement, but is climate change real? That should be.
Okay, so along with politics, I have no idea.
Yeah, good. All right.
Just adapt to the environment around you, Josh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, Logan, I'm not going to, well, I'll attempt to say where you're from. Is it Waxahachie? Is that how you say it?
You were close. Oof. You were close. It is Waxahachie.
Waxahachie.
Yeah, get it right, Caleb. Jesus.
Sorry, mate. You're still getting used to the American accent for some reason. Very good. So that's sort of like northern Texas, I'm gathering then?
Yeah, we live in Grapevine now, but yeah, I was born and raised in Waxahachie, which was a teeny tiny farming, ranching community back when I was growing up. So, yeah, it was a really nice place to grow up. I like it.
Did your parents own a station or you just
a ranch?
Ranch? We call them stations here, but yeah.
Oh, now you're switching.
Yeah. Well, it's one or the other. Ranch sounds better. It does. It sounds more sophisticated and a little more sort of luxurious. Ranch. Yeah, it does.
Well, yes. So it was a small ranch. It was only about 170 acres, which we still have it. My mom and my little brothers lived there. And we always had cattle, mainly Longhorn, growing up, and pigs, goats, chickens. Well, we tried to have chickens, but there's lots of coyotes, and there's a resident mountain lion that makes his rounds. So chickens only lasted as long as, it took the mountain lion to make his big loop that he ate, and then it was all over. So
that's something I wish we kind of had here, to be honest. Is a bit more predatory game.
I feel like everything in Australia kills you, though, right?
Yeah, but it's all small.
Yeah, predatory.
It's small and insignificant, and you look at a snake, and the snake's like a classic Australian. It knows it can kill you, but it's too lazy to. Well, that's the best way to describe our dangerous creatures. They're just very lazy. But what? So you sound like you're a classic Texan, really. Like born and raised on a ranch. You got the cowgirl boots going. That's the image that I've got in my head.
I probably have far too many pairs of cowboy boots for someone who doesn't like to wear shoes. So, yes, you do have that right.
Sounds like you're surprised she's not wearing a hat, Josh.
Well, a little surprised. Nice big white brim hat. She's looking for it.
I remember where it is, but I have one.
What's your typical sort of like growing up in a small country town on a ranch over there?
A lot of fence work. there's always fences breaking. I feel like that happens no matter where you are in the world on property. Like it's always happening. Working cattle, they always needed shots, always, mending of some sort. Really just working on the farm, helping my dad, whether it was mowing in the tractor, whether it was bush hogging, whether it was, you name it. Back then we did have, just a copious amount of feral hogs. It was absolutely ridiculous. And so we spent a lot of weekends just all night out there hunting hogs. And that went on for years. There were just so many of them.
Hell yeah. That sounds like the perfect way to grow up, to be honest.
It was fun.
I did hear, we have heard about the population of hogs in Texas. Is it still as bad as what it was or worse?
I don't know if it's gotten worse per se. Definitely in the last few years, there's been a big uptick in either private pilots or small companies taking their helicopters up and doing heli hog hunts. And people just eat those up. It's so much fun. First of all, you're hanging out of a helicopter door with a gun, just mowing down hogs. Like, who doesn't want to do that?
Would be good.
It brings a different dynamic to spotlighting. Oh, dear.
It's like spotlighting in the air with wings.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
And it sounds. Have you been up there in the chopper before?
No, all of those events I've been usually working the range, doing groundwork. But I haven't gotten to do it yet. One of these days I will.
I would imagine it'd be expensive, but I don't know. I have no idea. Here, to get a chopper off the ground, it's like a couple $1,000 at least.
It's still pretty expensive here, but tons of people still do it. So I think that has put a dent in the population. But y'all know hogs. You turn around and they're knocked up again with 12 piglets popping out. So yeah, they obviously repopulate fast.
Yeah.
Never ending battle.
All right, well, we've covered question 1. Now, Logan, number 2, what's your favourite food?
So probably Tex-Mex, of course, and Italian.
Is Tex-Mex like jambalaya or something?
Dude, Texan and Mexican mixed Tex-Mex.
Yeah, good,
So,
'cause I didn't know
so
that
it's
either.
like a jambalaya. It's like anything in a pot and stir it.
No, jambalaya is Cajun, and that's more like Louisiana area. I love Cajun food too. Just throwing that out there.
He just wanted to say jambalaya, I think. Do you have a go-to Tex-Mex dish that you're a fan of?
Enchiladas. I love enchiladas. So
Good choice.
Yeah, nice.
But that's not in a bowl stirred with other stuff. That's just an enchilada.
Fucking hell, gosh.
You'll have to forgive us, Logan. It's very different for us doing a podcast in the morning rather than at night time after about 10 drinks. So we're operating on a different level. I'm actually drinking coffee at the moment, which is very different for me. So,
You also look like you've had a massive night. Your eyes are all glazed over.
well, I was up late and it's actually daylight savings. Well, the
Yeah,
time's
we lost
changed
an hour.
over here, so we lost an hour overnight as well. So
we did.
oh
there you go.
It sucked. Do you have daylight savings there? You do?
yeah.
Yeah. I've heard this, some country, like NT's just like, no, we're not having daylight savings. It's the Northern Territory and South Australia.
Okay, I think
Yeah.
it's not a country.
Hey? No, but I'm saying champ. Places, other places
Look
are
at his
just
fucking
like
champ me.
not adopted daylight savings, which does suck. But anyway, moving on.
Let's move on before we start clobbering each other. Logan, what was your first job?
My first job outside of the home was I started working in a feed store. So I started working there when I was actually 14 years old. So my parents let me drive the ranch truck from the ranch down the highway to go to work every day, which was so illegal, obviously. But we were ranch kids in a ranching area, so like the cops didn't really care.
It's only illegal if you get caught.
Right, exactly. I was a law-abiding citizen then. so it was fun.
Then you're close to Mexico now, so if you're not law abiding, well,
Just jump the ball.
you know, two and two putting together, you're either running people or running drugs.
Oh, dear. What is the driving age over there normally?
The 16.
Okay, same as us. So, okay, you're 2 years pre when you should have been, but that's all right. So, how did you find that first job in the feed store? Was it okay for being a 14-year-old making a bit of money?
Oh yeah, it was great. It gave me, experience, having to interact with customers. I learned how to drive a forklift, which I definitely put a hole in the side of the building the first time I ever drove it. And then my boss made me sign the hole with a Sharpie, which was super awkward looking back on it now, but it was hilarious then.
At least you made you own it. That's pretty cool.
Is it still there?
I'm sure it is. Nothing on that building has been replaced in the past, 20 years.
Oh dear.
Wow. No, that's a cool first job, I reckon.
It is. It beats the stereotypical, waitress or waiter or, slinging burgers at Burger King for them.
Nice, nice US reference, Josh.
I've got a question. I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but have you ever been to a Hooters?
Yes, I have.
Is it good food?
Very mediocre.
Mediocre. Right.
People aren't there for the food.
No, they're just there for the scenery.
Well, no, are they? Because I'd just be like, yeah, let's go for it's not like it's a
I know you're
strip
hoping.
joint.
I know you're hoping it's a 5-star restaurant.
I feel like it's become so iconic in movies and things now. If we were to visit the States, you just have to go to a Hooters.
Of course.
Yeah. You would. You just have to go to see what it's like. But, well, no, that's just me. Sorry, I don't know if that was appropriate or not, but whatever.
Why is it not appropriate?
I don't know, because we're talking to a lady.
Do you know who I'm married to?
Yes, this is true. It's like, we're going out for dinner, babe. Where are you going, Hooters?
It's Friday date night.
Oh, dear. What is it like actually being married to Chrissy? Is it fun that it's the whole he's Australian sort of still sort of warm and cuddly, or is it like, oh yeah, he's an Australian?
Oh goodness! Now I hope he really is in the garage. No, it's great. It's always funny because I can tell whenever he's, talked to one of his friends there, or his mom or his sisters, because his accent gets like 10 times more prominent, or when he's drinking. And so a lot of people, they'll be like, oh, well, he has a little bit of accent, but then he'll talk to someone back home, or, we'll be out drinking and they're like, oh my God, he really is an Aussie. It's definitely never a dull moment. That's for sure.
Sounds it. We should probably ask you, where did you first meet Chris? How did you guys get together?
So he was working at Five Toes for John Wayne Walding. And I had actually gotten to know one of his best friends who was also working at the shop there. And so I met one of his best friends, Luke, and we had hung out and hit it off and whatnot. And then I fucked off for Africa for, an undetermined amount of time, came back a while later. And Luke was like, hey, you need to come to our booth, the shop's booth at the Dallas Safari Club show. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to be there working it anyways, because I always volunteer and work that show. And so I actually met Chris while working the Dallas Safari Club show, and his buddy introduced us, parted ways after that show. Didn't think anything of it, really. Well, okay, that's a complete lie. Let's just say that night I was like, so you don't have to leave the hotel. I have my own room upstairs. And Chris was like, yeah, I got to go home and feed my cats. So he left.
I gotta go and feed my cat. Mate, I'll let the cat perish. That's just like, what are you doing? Chrissy. Oh my God.
So I didn't think anything of it until Luke had called me a few months later, demanding that I come down to NS for a machine gun shoot. So I go down there, and lo and behold, of course, Chris is there. And then finally that time he asked for my number, and here we are today.
Oh,
Sweet.
that's very nice. That's very, very nice. Bit slow on Chris's fucking timing, and but that's all right.
You had to be sure.
Got there in the end.
He had responsibilities, Caleb would say.
Okay. Very good. All right. Well, Logan, next one. If you could trade places with anyone in the world, now we're going to make you answer this question because you have sent us back some answers and you said you wouldn't trade with anyone. But, okay, you've had a good life. You wouldn't trade. But if you could do it just for a day or a week, who would you trade places with? Just to try their life or change some things. What do you reckon?
Do they have to be alive currently?
Anybody.
Oh, okay. Then I would definitely go with Annie Oakley.
Annie, why?
I mean, she was a master marksman, trick shooter, just the coordination, the concentration that she had to have. And especially during that time period as a woman. I mean, a lot of women these days think that, you know, occasionally it can be difficult in the male dominated fields of hunting and shooting, any sort of shooting sports. But back then, like, I can only imagine how difficult it would be. And for her to rise to such heights that she did, I mean, just the strength, the fortitude, the badassery that she had to possess. Like, I would love to experience some of that or be able to bring that back into myself to some extent.
And she was probably up against it way more than women in those disciplines these days. That sort of sparks a question for me in that how is it over there in the States? Because here in Australia, there's actually a lot more women getting into shooting and hunting. It's still very much male dominated for sure, but there are a lot more women getting involved. How is it over there in Texas or the States on the wider scale?
I would definitely say over the past several years, 5-10 years probably, a lot more women have been getting more involved with shooting sports and to an extent hunting. I guess here in Dallas, there's or North Texas, there's just kind of a core group of women, mainly associated with Dallas Safari Club, who, we hunt, we travel, we guide, we do all of these things. And there are efforts to bring more women in, either bow hunting, rifle, pistol, whatever it may be. Because a lot of women just don't know where to go. They don't know who to ask. They rely on their father or their brother, something like that. And even now, like, that can still be really intimidating because for a lot of men, especially in this country who are in this industry, they've already got, everything figured out and all of their gear figured out and all of that. But then coming in as a woman, not knowing anything, it can be really overwhelming. And men's stuff, whether it's clothing or gear, isn't gonna really work for women as much, especially when it comes to rifle placement or how you hold the rifle, how you hold a pistol. I mean, we have things that we have to compensate for as far as body placement. Just saying.
Yeah.
So it's nice and less intimidating if a newbie can find a group of women who are welcoming and already have that knowledge, who have already worked those little details out that make it really enjoyable.
Yeah. So how big's this club that you're talking about?
Dallas Safari Club?
Yeah.
I mean, there are thousands of members. trying to remember when it was founded. I'm a life member, so I should know this. But they are, most people label it as a hunting organization, but in reality, and even by our credo and our bylaws, we're mainly conservation focused, and hunting is a big part of conservation. So, I mean, there are thousands of members all over the world, hundreds and hundreds of outfitters from all over the world come in for our annual show. So, yeah.
And the initiative's not just females; it's both males and females for that club.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, I'm sort of picking up that, given that you're a life member, was this your avenue over to Africa?
It was. My uncle actually was the one who got me involved back in 2015. So I was, 24, 25. And that was so my uncle convinced me to get involved with it. And this is a club that has been, hopefully until now, known as, the old boys club. It's a bunch of 50 to 75-year-old white men drinking, smoking cigars. You know what I mean.
Yep.
And very, very upscale, hoity-toity Dallas, wealthy type thing. And then you have me with tattoos and piercings and not knowing anything coming in. Incredibly intimidated at first. But then there were some people who just took me under their wing and started working the events and getting to know people. And some of my best friends are actually a part of the club, and that's how I got to know them. And then the first show that I worked, my uncle bid on, it was actually a youth package, a youth apprenticeship package for one of the outfitters. And he won the bid. So he went and spoke with them and was like, well, my niece isn't exactly youth. She's a little bit older. So they were like, okay, well, let us meet her and we'll talk and we'll see what happens. So anyways, they ended up letting me come over. It was just a 2-week internship with them just to learn the safari aspect of it, the setting up a hunt, handling clients, the hospitality portion. I mean, just everything involved in a safari. And then towards the end of that 2-week period, one of the families that I'd been staying with, they said, well, I mean, if you don't need to go back to the States, you can just, stay here and work on the farm. So I called my uncle and I was just like, yeah, so I'm not coming home. Don't know when I'll be back.
How long did that last? Like, how long were you in, did you end up staying over?
Altogether, I think it was 8 months consecutively. Every 3 months, I had to come back to the States, though. Mm-hmm. So I would fly back from Joburg to Atlanta, go through customs, go back through security, and then get back on a plane and go back to Joburg.
Just for the visa?
Yeah, I had to reset my visitor.
Yeah.
Or tourist visa. Yeah.
So what was Johannesburg like? I've heard multiple different opinions on what it's like, but for a young lady that's over there working, what was it like?
Well, I only flew in and out of Joburg. There was one guest house that I always stayed at, Africa Sky Guest House. Wonderful place. They always sent the same driver to come get me. So I actually didn't spend a lot of time in Johannesburg because I would fly from there straight to the Eastern Cape. So really all my time over there was spent out in the bushveld.
Very nice. Yeah, Joburg doesn't have the best reputation, so
yeah, it certainly
probably a good thing not to spend too much time there.
That's one place that I would never go out in by myself. I wouldn't do that.
Well, this is sort of pointing us towards the next question, which is the most dangerous thing you've ever done, Logan. And you've mentioned that was going off over there to Africa. So describe what that's like landing in a foreign country. I assumed you hadn't been to Africa before that. Yeah. How was that for someone going over there and experiencing that for the first time?
Well, looking back on it, ignorance is definitely bliss, because when I went over there, I didn't think twice. I was just like, okay, I'm traveling over there by myself. I'm doing all the travel by myself, but I didn't think that anything was dangerous. I was just completely ignorant of all of it. So for me, it was fine. Out in the more rural areas, because where I mainly stayed was outside of a small place called Fort Beaufort in the Eastern Cape. And most people were actually scared of me. They would not come anywhere near me. And a lot of the locals would point and say, what was it? Sangoma. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but which basically meant witch.
Oh, wow.
Holy shit.
Because I was a single white female with tattoos. And yeah, most people in those areas, they'd never seen that, never heard of that. And so they thought that I had been marked by the devil. And
wow.
So it created a nice barrier for me. I didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, shit. Must have been hard buying a drink though at the bar. So you rock up to the Cape, and you've done your 2 weeks, and now you're rolling into your everyday work. You kept working with the guiding side of things?
A little bit. In between safaris, though, whenever we didn't have clients in camp, it was really just maintaining the camp. The baboons definitely like to tear apart the thatch roofing. So there was a lot of roofing stuff that had to be done. But a lot of the outfit owners, in their off times, they raise goats. Some of them raise cattle, but goats are more economically smart for them. I also learned that certain goats will just fall over dead for no reason. There was a lot of that. So it was a lot of just taking care of the property, the fencing, managing livestock, trying to keep the baboons from killing too many goat kids, which was really difficult, and then preparing for the next batch of clients that are coming in, which was always interesting.
Could you just like shoot the baboons, or would you run a dog with the goats or something like that just to protect them? Like, how would you go about keeping the baboons off the kids?
Some people ran dogs, although I noticed that, like here in the States, what are they called? Livestock protection dogs. So you have a lot of really large breeds. I didn't see a whole lot of that over there. I did see several Rhodesian Ridgebacks, which are great for that. I have one, but he is a couch potato.
Domesticated.
You need to put some like fresh meat in front of him just to spark his inner instincts.
Guiding over there, was there sort of some interesting clients that you sort of dealt with that you'd rather not see again, I guess?
That's a yes. Look, that's a loaded question. Yeah.
Just want to hear some good stories.
No, actually, I can't think of any clients who I would not want to see again. Actually, every year I still run into clients from my time working over there. You know, whenever I go to any of the hunting or outdoor shows or expos, I liked them all. They were, I mean, everyone like gets grumpy, and everyone has, you know, you have to cater to their quirks, and but that's all part of hospitality. We had a set of friends, two men who came over, and one of them, he had such an amazing life story. His mother was actually kind of like an Annie Oakley of the 30s. So he would travel around the country with his mom going to all of these shooting expos. So I always loved talking to him. He just had such an amazing story. But then you also have the flip side of your awesome clients. The same gentleman, drunkenly one night, he was like, well, little lady, I'm in my 80s now, and I might need some help getting in and out of the shower.
10 grand. Done.
How deep are your pockets, sir? 'Cause
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
You get that though, but I mean,
I think it gets worse as the older men get. They
because
just-
the older you
it's
get,
blunt.
the less you give a fuck. You just don't give a
Yeah,
fuck.
you
the
mean
older
like
you
may as well try.
hey, and I don't blame them. I worked in nursing homes for years and years. My dirty old men were just, they were the highlight of the day. You never knew what was going to come out of their mouths or anywhere else, so you just went with it.
Or anywhere else.
Oh, fair enough. Well, what sort of game species were the guys after mostly over there?
A lot of it was plains game.
Yep.
So kudu, gemsbok, impala. There were tons of springbuck in the region that I was in.
Mm-hmm.
We also did a lot of hunting for dik-diks, which are of course my favorite little plains game animal. Grazebuck, roebuck. Trying to think of all my small antelope and I'm blanking, but there were, yeah.
Cool. Plains game.
Did you get to take anything yourself while you were there?
I did a lot of culling. So, which is, I found out is one of my favorite things to do. Trophy hunting is great, but I had the best time just culling.
People don't realise there's a lot that goes into the conservation side of things and the animal management. Everyone sort of gets this perception, well, not everyone, but a lot of people get the perception that people just go over there to trophy hunt and it's just about killing animals willy-nilly. But, there's a fair bit that goes into the conservation side, isn't there?
Oh, there's a ton, of course. And obviously what the majority of people, what happens is, of course, you're going to have an emotional reaction. Most people do. An emotional reaction to killing anything, really. But the fact of the matter is, if you don't maintain a healthy population of anything, then the entire population is going to be effective, whether there's not enough of those animals, especially if there's too many of those animals in one area. Of course, disease, you name it. If you allow that to take over, then it's just going to decimate. And so that's where a lot of the land management that's done by the outfitters comes into play. And then, of course, the money aspect of it, because there aren't enough bleeding hearts with deep pockets who can finance all of this. So who finances the conservation, the upkeep, the anti-poaching? Hunters do.
Yeah.
So it's definitely an interesting dynamic to see, and sometimes it's difficult to have conversations with someone who's on the other side of the issue. It's difficult to get that across to people sometimes, but it was definitely a whole different world and different experience for me, actually getting to see all of these things in action in multiple countries, not just South Africa.
So with the, you said the finances sort of go back into the conservation of animals, which help protect species. With the meat from, just say, trophy animal, what happens with that?
So that goes directly to the locals because you're not allowed to export that meat.
Yeah.
So all of that stays depending on how big the operation is, it either goes directly to the support staff or it goes to just the local community in general. And another thing that people don't think of is the amount of I believe it's called sustenance poaching. So there's a huge problem, especially in extremely rural, poor areas, of the snares and the light clamps and everything else on just your typical antelope. And they poach these animals just to survive. Obviously, that has a huge impact on populations and health of populations. So whenever hunters come over, whether it's an elephant, whether it's a giraffe, whether it's a kudu, all of that meat goes to the community so that they're fed or so that they can sell that meat to support themselves, et cetera, et cetera.
So, the community's pretty well dependent on the hunting side of things. Otherwise, they'll be poaching more.
Right. And I mainly saw that in Mozambique. It wasn't quite as bad in the area I was in the Eastern Cape, but it was still there to an extent.
So did you have any sort of interesting run-ins with poachers while you're over there?
Luckily, I did not personally. And even if I had, I was always out with someone. I rarely went out by myself. So even if we had, I wouldn't have been allowed to go. the guys would have taken off after him. So, but the people who I was with, they've had multiple run-ins and yeah, especially in Mozambique. So
the poachers all shoot back as well, won't they? Like if they're suddenly getting tailed by one of you guys, like they'll have a crack.
What's the protocol for something like that when a guide does come across poachers? Or is there a rule system behind it, like what they should follow, or they just sort of do whatever they can to apprehend the person?
I think that largely depends on the individual who comes across them, what the situation is, where they are. I know that from what I was told while I was in Mozambique, the outfitters or their guides, because they're white, they never touch. They don't touch the poachers. The locals, the trackers, they're the ones that handle the discipline, should we say. And usually they end up, I don't know what I can and can't say on that.
They'd shoot on sight.
I'm trying not to get in trouble.
Yeah.
They'd shoot on sight.
Let Josh do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's just take it out there. Just chuck it out there.
What you're saying is, like, obviously the white people don't really touch the poachers, so therefore poachers are generally not white.
You would be correct in that assumption.
Yeah.
That went sort of quiet for a second.
No, I mean it makes sense. I mean if it's the black people that are poaching and the black people that are working for the outfitters running out with the discipline, then there's sort of no issue in terms of being a racial thing, I guess. That makes sense that they carry out, just sorting the poachers out. So you don't want to complicate things more than they already are, I guess.
Yeah, I could imagine it'd be pretty complicated there at the moment.
I mean, things are complicated enough in Africa when it comes to that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I had a friend that used to live over there with his family, and he was a white South African, and they had a small ranch or station, whatever you want to call it, and apparently the locals had come up to their house and to their grandparents and said, "Look, you got a week to get out, or we're gonna pretty much just take over." And him and his mum and dad left, but his grandparents stayed. Not sure exactly what happened to him, to the grandparents, but yeah, I can't believe it was terribly nice, that's for sure. But complicated is an understatement over there.
It really is. And I know it's going to I don't know if I should say pun intended or not intended, but people want that issue to be black and white. Like they want it to be simple, but it is not. And what another thing that's interesting, a lot of people think that, poachers are just, well, you think a lot of things about poachers. One thing that I learned over there was there have been so many instances where a simple day worker or a worker who's employed by an outfitter, you name it, they'll go to their bank, the ATM, on payday, and all of a sudden they have 100 million rand in their bank account, and they're going, they think they suddenly hit the jackpot, the lottery. Then they get a call, and it's actually someone somewhere saying, okay, this is in your bank account. That's our money. So here's what you have to do.
Oh, wow.
In order to either keep the money or keep your family safe, we need information on, this reserve or on this piece of land. We need this animal. And a lot of times it is like rhino or elephant, something like that. But that was something that I never knew of until I was over there. And I'm like, holy shit, that actually happens? Yeah, wow. So sometimes it does.
In your opinion, how achievable is it to, I guess, one day stop poaching altogether?
The optimist in me, of course, wants to say that it is achievable. There again, everyone wants world peace. It's one thing that I noticed and is part of the hunting and conservation aspect is, I forgot exactly what the saying was, but basically if it pays, it stays. So when you put a value on something, when you put a value on protecting something, then people will protect it. Just like with a lot of the workers on these ranches who work for these outfitters, okay, that's their livelihood, that's their home. So even if their brother, their cousin, their nephew is like, hey, we can make X amount if you just let me, poach this animal or poach these animals. Okay, well, that worker who belongs there, they don't want their livelihood taken away. They don't want that messed up. They want clients to come. They want this area to flourish. So it has a value for them. Now, as far as being able to do that, I guess globally, I'm not sure. I mean, I can hope.
Oh, fair cool.
Yeah, do the local trackers and things, do they get paid well? I mean, obviously they're getting meat out of it and a place to stay on the ranch, or do they go home of an evening?
Usually a lot of them live on the property. They have their own, their own homes. So they are paid by the outfitter, obviously room and board, they have their house there. But then also it is customary. So they also get tipped as well by the clients. Whether it's a non-hunting client or a hunting client, they usually get tipped by everybody. So.
Oh, that's all right. That makes it a little bit better for them, I guess. And makes them want to do the service with a smile on their face. That's the thing about tips that we don't get in Australia.
Yeah, I'd hate to get Australian clients.
Don't ever go to a restaurant here because the waiters don't give a fuck.
We don't have a tipping culture.
Yeah,
it's very different. But yeah, you can still make a bit of money as a waiter or waitress without tips here. I guess that's what's different. We don't we get paid a lot more by the hour. Don't have to rely on the tips as much, especially if you're working public holidays. I paid 15% just for a public holiday surcharge the other day when I went out for a meal. So
what?
Ouch.
Yeah, because employers have to pay penalty rates for public holidays now.
Yeah.
So the restaurant I went to, they added an extra 15% on surcharge for it being public holiday. So it was an expensive meal.
Stuff that.
They could just close for the day.
True.
I got a question. If you were looking to go for a hunt in South Africa, is there an economical way to hunt? Like, you sit there and think, okay, 60 grand upwards for like some animals to be taken. Is there something that you can get some plains game, pay a few grand, and that's it?
Is there something attainable that you don't have to be a sort of fat cat American to
budget friendly?
Oh goodness. That's a little bit difficult for me to answer, just simply because how I went about my whole experience over there and the things that I did. From what I've seen, whether it's Safari Club International, Dallas Safari Club, Sheep Show Foundation, or Wild Sheep Foundation, usually they will have auctions. So they have live auctions, silent auctions, raffles, you name it. And typically you can get some really crazy hunts at a much better price. It does take some tact. Personally, I've never done it, but some of my best friends, that's how they do all of their hunts. And I mean, we're talking people who are in their late 20s, early 30s. So not wealthy individuals at all. And usually knowing the ins and outs of getting taxidermy from wherever you are, whether it's Spain, Zimbabwe, wherever, and getting it back into the States and knowing all of their tricks, because they will tack on any sort of bullshit charge you can imagine.
Yeah.
So going with a reputable transport who is actually honest, and educating yourself at least a little bit on the ins and outs of how that goes. I'm still struggling, myself and two of my girlfriends, we're still struggling on getting stuff back from Argentina, but that mainly had to do with COVID. But if you can do that portion smartly, then it will help a great deal.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Sounds like you've done a bit of hunting abroad.
Where have you hunted internationally?
So Namibia, South Africa, Mozambique, and Argentina so far, which I actually have a story about Mozambique and goodness gracious, Argentina.
Some strong drinks you're drinking.
What the?
This is actually non-alcoholic beer. Okay.
Oh, that's a problem.
On the left, what's that other one? Or is that just a cup?
Oh no, it's just water.
Oh God. It's like a gigantic.
It's like a skinny face.
Everything's bigger in Texas. Fucking hell.
Feel free, Logan. Hit us with a couple of stories.
So one of the people who I apprenticed under in South Africa, his name was Glenn Haldane, and he was actually from a completely different outfitter than who I was working with. But he came and hunted on their concessions, so I think the outfitter was just like, here, you take her. We don't know what to do with her. So I was with them. And after that safari concluded, I got a WhatsApp from someone in Mozambique, and they were going, hey, I'm Mark Haldane, Glenn's brother, and just wanted to see if you wanted to come to our concession in Mozambique. So I was like, okay. Yeah, of course. Never seen Mozambique. Hell yeah, I want to go. So my only instructions were get $1,000 in US cash, get on a plane, wind up in, I think it was Maputo, in Mozambique on this day before this time, and go find a guy named Pete, get on his bush plane, and then you'll wind up in camp at some point. That was all I knew. And of course, I'm just like, all right, fuck yeah, let's go. So I get all that together. I get to Maputo, which, I mean, their airport is maybe 2 normal size houses put together. Like, that was as big as it was. But before I left, the family who I was staying with, John, he told me, hey, when you get there, make sure that you put $20 in your passport before you hand it over as a bribe. So I was like, okay, well, my tired ass, by the time I got there, completely forgot. So then my passport gets confiscated. And then I spend 3 hours in the security office getting yelled at in Fonagalo for hours and hours. And then finally, it was actually one of Ivan Carter's camera guys happened to be there. And he came to my rescue, talked to him. I finally got my passport back. Of course, they still wanted a bribe, but all I had was $100. And so I just gave that to them. And they're like, okay, well, we don't have any change. So come back tomorrow. Yeah. I'm like, no, I can't come back tomorrow. I'm about to go out in the bush. Like, I'm not going to be back for a while. Just keep the 100. So I learned my lesson there.
Ouch.
I didn't find Pete, but I found his son. So I got on his bush plane. And a few hours later, we ended up in Kitata 11, right outside of, I think it was the Marimo National Reserve, I believe. Yeah, that was one of the craziest experiences I've ever had. We did a buff hunt out in the dried up swamps because it was end of season, and that was just absolutely insane. We had to tiger crawl through I forgot what it is, but it's the tall grass that's in the swamps. When it dries out, it's actually covered in fiberglass.
Oh,
so and it's about like 120 degrees Fahrenheit out there. It was something else. But there was this old Daga boy who was starting to decimate the younger calves that were being born because they weren't his. He wasn't breeding anymore. So our client ended up taking him because he was a danger. He was a danger to the population. And that was just one of the craziest, best experiences of my life. It was, I mean, you think wild Africa, like that's what it was.
A lot of, quite a few of the guests we've had on have said that hunting buffalo is their favorite hunt. Was that sort of your experience as well? Like that was, the crazy sort of thing you've been on?
Yes.
There was a pause there.
It's a close second.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, because I got a buffalo in Argentina as well, but it's completely different terrain, a totally different style. So both are incredibly exciting. I would say, going on the buffalo hunt in Mozambique was definitely the wildest, though.
So, I mean, for people like us who have never actually hunted overseas, you've talked about, there's this Argentina hunt as well. How do you go about organising that? Because, I mean, to us, it seems like, a huge deal to be able to organise something in a whole other country. You haven't been there before, you don't speak the language. So how did the Argentina trip come about? How did you go about organising it?
Well, I actually was not the one who organized that one. One of my friends, Jane, she's also an international hunter. She actually organized it. She was good friends with the outfitter, which if anyone is curious and anyone wants to go to Argentina, Miles and Miles Outfitter is primo. Beautiful. I love them. But yeah, so she actually organized that for us, and it was myself, Jane, and one of our other friends, Crystal. Turns out we were the, I guess, first ever all-female hunting group that ever came to that region. So that was really that was interesting.
Nice.
So yeah, luckily with well-established good outfitters, they play a huge role in organizing all of that for you, actually. Or they have their own agent who does that. They help you line up your travel. If you have to overnight somewhere, usually they'll get all that set up for you as well. Transport, you name it. If you're with a really reputable outfitter, then it's actually fairly easy, which is really nice.
Yeah, cool.
And the small details of like food once you're there, obviously the outfitter supplies food, drinks and everything like that. Do they do or point you in the correct direction to do all your paperwork to get your firearm in and out of the country? I mean, it's obviously different for the States, but here in Australia it can be quite difficult at times, depending on the season of where Australia's at.
Yes, usually they have people who help with that. And if someone isn't physically there, especially if you fly into Johannesburg, from my experience, there's you'll have like walkthrough instructions before you even get there, so you kind of know what to expect. And so far, I haven't heard of anyone really having huge issues getting their guns in and out. I'm sure in certain places there are, of course, bribes involved still. But I mean, in Johannesburg, there's not. I can tell you that. But yeah, if you have just a good outline, then typically it's not that difficult.
Nice. So did you go over there specifically to hunt buffalo, or was it sort of just go to that outfitter and just hunt? And was it public land, private land? How did that all sort of work?
As far as I know, I believe that Katata 10 and Katata 11, I believe they're still owned by the government, but basically leased by the outfitter. So, but the outfitter also provides, this specific one is Zambezi Delta Safaris. So the Haldanes own and operate that. It's a phenomenal outfitter. So they're basically stewards of all of that land. And I know when I was there, their anti-poaching unit was about 22 men strong. So they do anti-poaching efforts 365 days a year. I'm trying to remember the first part of your question now.
Did you go over?
Get sidetracked?
No, that's all good. Did you go over to Argentina to specifically hunt buffalo?
No, so I actually was mainly going over to do the dove hunting portion.
Oh.
I absolutely love dove hunting, no matter where I am. I love it. That's one of my favorite things to do. So we get over there, and my two girlfriends, they were hunting some of the sheep and then buffalo. But then, of course, I got talked into a 4-horned sheep, a buffalo, and a Russian boar. So,
talked into. Could be like, do you want to do it yet?
basically, yeah, it didn't take a whole lot of convincing.
Yeah, wow.
What sort of calibers are you using over there for the hunt?
For the smaller stuff, it's typically like around a 270. That's pretty good. I can't, because I borrowed my gun from the outfitter, and I'm completely blanking on what caliber that was for the buffalo, but it was a hefty one.
Yeah.
It would be.
Probably a 375 or something.
40 cup.
Yeah.
With your doves, do you eat them?
You can.
You can?
I mean, so yeah, we do here in the States. That's kind of part of our dove hunting ritual, which I hope none of my game warden friends are ever going to listen to this. But so what we would typically do is, when you're out in the field, each dove that drops, you take it over to your cook, and someone in our group always had the grill. So stuff a jalapeno with cream cheese, put it in the breast, wrap it in bacon, pop it on the grill. You eat it through the day. Like, it's amazing.
Damn. I'd love to do it. We don't have a huge population. Well, all right, the legalities of shooting doves is different here, but I even like street pigeon, like doing the same thing, cream cheese, jalapeno. Our jalapenos are terrible compared to yours. Like, they're just very, very small, just insignificant. I don't know if it's because they just don't grow well here, but yeah, those little poppers, absolutely awesome. Can't get enough of them, to be honest. Yeah, I'd like to try. I'd like to go to the States and try that, actually. You have full drives over there with your dove hunting, don't you? So it's like a full day. It's sort of planned out. Guys on either side of a field, and
yeah, usually. So they fly, sunrise, early morning. Then you take a break, usually nap, drink, sometimes a little too much, and then you nap. And then just a little bit before, dusk, then they start flying again. Especially if you're near a body of water, that's the best. Water, tree lines, open field, that's the place that you want to be.
Shit, yeah, target-rich environment. Just
sounds fun.
Buckets of bullets. That'd be, yeah. I'd like to give it a go one day. Because just jumping back to like where you're from, where you were raised, did you do much deer hunting up there as a child?
So I'm the only girl out of, my entire family, but I have 3 brothers, and it took me years to convince my dad to take me to deer camp, because of course back then, like, deer camp was no place for a young lady. Little did they know. But yeah, so I started hunting with my dad when I was around, I think, 11, 12 years old. And that was where we really, really bonded. And from then on out, every year, I was dove hunting, I was pig hunting, I was deer hunting with my dad. And, that was one of our favorite things to do together. So it was funny, towards the end of my dad's life, one night we're sitting in the game room just cleaning guns. He's yelling at the news or whatever. And he turns and looks at me and he just goes, "Michelle, you're the best son a father could ask for." And I just turned and looked at him and I go, "Dad, you do know that you have 3 actual sons, right?" He just looked at me and goes, "I know what I said." He just looked away. I was like, "Okay, thanks." Cool.
So your brothers hunt much?
No.
No, really?
I have an older brother. He's about 3 years older, and then I'm 13 years older than my younger brothers, and they never got into it. So no, I was the only one that got into shooting, hunting, any of that.
Yeah.
I thought everyone from Texas got a shot.
Just born with a rifle.
Yeah, come out of the womb with an AR. America, fuck yeah.
Comes out of 2 ARs.
Tiny little cowboy boots. Dip kick, back pocket, yeah.
I kind of want you to confirm the stigma. Is Texas like that? It does. Apart from your brothers, does everyone else hunt? Oh.
Sadly, no. It is very diversified, but there are a lot of hunters here. So
from what I'm hearing, there's a lot of people from other states going across to Texas, just a way of lifestyle.
Yeah, there's been a huge influx of course, people from California, I think New York, a lot of states like that. There's been a huge influx of people moving here. Some of it might have to do with the lifestyle. A lot of it has to do with cost of living, politics, and also the industry here in Texas. Since we have the Gulf of Mexico, so there's lots of oil, there's lots of import, export. But then we're also a hub for huge corporations and companies like IBM and Texas Instruments. And, there's NASA down in Houston. Like, there's just so much growth going on right now with the economy. So it's a big incentive for a lot of people to move here.
And Texas is quite independent from the rest of the country, like as a state, from what I believe.
Definitely mentality-wise.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that we are our own country, even here. But we could be very independent in a lot of ways. But then I think in a lot of ways not as much as most people think.
Yeah.
I mean, we hear a lot about Texas through Joe Rogan because we all listen to the podcast. It's the biggest podcast in the world. Of course, we listen to it. So, you know, Joe Rogan's always banging on about, you know, people coming from exactly what you said, from California, from New York to Austin, especially, just for that change of mentality, get away from all the political bullshit that goes on in those other states. So, I mean, it does sound like a pretty cool place to be at any rate.
Sure.
So,
Pretty much the only state that I would want to just go and visit, like in America, if I had to visit one, it'd be Texas, for sure.
Yeah, Texas or Colorado. Yeah, definitely.
One.
But yeah, I was gonna suggest Colorado as well. I mean, Colorado's great too.
Yeah.
With the pandemic, did you? Sorry, just throwing it out there. Did you see a rise in gun sales and things? And obviously, we hear about the ammo. Everyone just started fucking stockpiling ammo because what happens in the US filters to us, and so.
Oh, it didn't help that the Yanks were buying our ammo as well.
Yeah.
And having to send back over.
Yeah. And it was explained to me the other week, actually, like pretty much they don't ship anything unless they've satisfied the states, and they will remove our allocation to support the states. And then after, you know, everything's been allocated to the states and fulfilled, then we get shipments of things. But I want to know, actual gun sales, did it skyrocket? Because we heard in Cali, like lefties were getting that scared. They were just going out and, I don't know if you can, but this is what we heard, going out and buying a gun because they were all fucking freaking out and shit.
Oh yeah, I mean, even here in Texas, one of our very good friends, Reed Durbin, his grandfather started an iconic gun store here in Dallas, Ray's Sporting Goods. It's a staple of Dallas, especially if you're into guns and hunting. And they could not keep up. The most liberal people that you can imagine, the most anti-gun people you could imagine, they were lining up around the store just to buy a gun, just to buy ammo. It didn't matter. Like, I swear people were just buying pistols just to have, even though they didn't have any ammo. I don't know, like they were going to throw it at someone.
Do the old bluff. I've got no ammo, but I'll act like I've got confidence.
Until you get shot.
Oh, God. See, that's got to be good for the Second Amendment, for sure. Like lefties buying guns. He'd be like, fuck yeah, no guns will be taken away anymore. And then Joe Biden happens.
anyway, we're steering clear of politics. Logan, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
I've been given a lot of great advice. Okay, I'm going to have to go with two. So the first one is more serious, I guess. And my dad always told me this growing up. And I think he got it from Zig Ziglar. Who's, he's wonderful to listen to. But to always treat the janitor the same as you would the CEO.
Yeah.
So, and I got to see that in action with my dad. He was an incredible salesman, an incredible people person. And I always thought that that's very important. You never know what you can learn from someone, no matter what their station in life is. The second one, which always makes me smile, is from Dickie, who is one of the owners of the outfitter in Argentina. And this piece of advice is never wear flip-flops to a knife fight.
Can you unpack that one for us a little bit?
So let's just say there was a gentleman who his mouth got the better of him. He was at the bar and he was in flip-flops. So him and this other guy decide to take it outside. Well, of course, they both have some sort of knife on them. And I got into a knife fight. And the only reason why he lost this knife fight was because there's too much blood in his flip-flops, and it made him trip and fall because his flip-flops wouldn't stay on.
Yeah, it would suck. Just sounds weird calling them flip-flops.
It does.
Well,
Thongs.
I mean, what we call them would sound weird to Logan.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know,
Call them
being
thongs.
married to Chris, we call them thongs.
Flip flops.
All right, we'll never wear thongs to a knife fight. I mean, either way, either kind of thong, probably not a good idea.
Or do. Wear a thong to
Yeah,
a knife
maybe
fight.
wear a thong, and then it'll freak the other person out. They'll be like, "Yeah, I'm out of here, man. You're crazy."
Dear.
I mean, that's kind of a surefire way to win a fight. Just start taking clothes off. Like, no one wants to fight a naked person.
That's true.
No, because you're going to think they're crazier than you by far.
Yeah.
Or it might be a turn on in Josh's case.
But what if you end up like, just like, nah, screw it, and still fight and chop the dude's tallywhacker off? Oh.
You're
Then it's
targeting
on
that
him.
specifically?
That was it's worth a try.
Oh, dear. All right, well, roll the next question. Logan, what is your most treasured possession?
That would be a set of slide rules, old school math slide rules that I got from my grandfather. My grandfather was, he had various companies, but he was an aerospace engineer for NASA. So he worked on the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo missions. And those were the slide rules that he used in mission control during those flights. And they're definitely my most valuable possessions that I have.
Bloody hell. Take them down to the pawn shop in Las Vegas.
You do know pawn shops exist in other places.
No, there's one famous gold and silver pawn shop that has a TV show, mate.
Yeah, porn stars, I know it.
Yeah.
I'm blanking here. What's a slide rule?
Couchy's not good with math.
Is it one? Yeah, is it
I
one
mean,
of those little like bead calculator things?
It's an abacus.
Well, that's the first thing that popped in my head, and then you made me think of it.
Kind of like the same amount of technology. I mean, I can go grab one.
Yeah, do
Yeah,
it.
y'all.
Yeah, I want to have a look.
Yeah.
Do it, grab it,
Yeah.
hold it up, we'll have a look.
We got time.
Grab an AR while you're there. If you've got an AR handy under the bed.
and shotgun pistol. Still don't know exactly.
Please come back with an AR.
I have,
Please.
I have a rough idea in my head, but
Oh, so no one actually knows.
it's old, man. Like, you don't
Yeah.
use them anymore.
Oh, oh.
How's that, though? Like, on the spaceship. Oh, not on the spaceship, but
Not on the
working for NASA.
Here we go. Let's have a look.
Okay, so I'm trying to get it to move. I think I might have broken it.
That's not long enough. So,
I've used one of them.
All right.
So yeah, the two solid pieces. This one typically moves. It's,
The
a
slide
way
part.
to do advanced shit that I definitely cannot do.
That's pretty cool.
how's that? You know, if we were in the States, our most treasured possession, because we come from Australia, would literally be an AR, but you've got a ruler as your treasured possession.
I mean, if I was in the States, my most treasured possession would be my passport, so I could be in the States.
No, you can always get another one.
Very cool.
That's interesting.
So how long was he with NASA? And, you know, involved in the missions, obviously he's an engineer, so that sounds like he had a pretty interesting job.
Yeah. Actually, I had no idea what my grandfather even did until after he passed away. Apparently, I was kind of a dense child. Tons of NASA stuff. Like, you know, we'd go down to the Cape with like Aldrin and all of them. I had no idea who they were. And you know, looking back, I'm seeing pictures on like Buzz Aldrin's lap as a child. I had no idea who he was.
What?
Wow.
Holy shit.
Okay, I was like 4 years old in my defense.
Fair enough.
But yeah, one of the things that my grandfather worked on was the backpack that the astronauts wore actually on the moon, allowing them to breathe. So that was pretty neat. As far as everything else he did, I'm not sure. I just know that he worked on the missions. So,
Yeah. Bloody hell, you wouldn't want to get that engineering wrong, would you?
It'd be a lot of stress.
It'd be like a national TV fuck up. Fucking hell.
Well, you've changed your tune from last week, Josh, because he was saying last week that no one's been to the moon.
Yeah, no, I still don't believe it. No, I do. Barely. I have some skepticism, but that's all right.
It's sort of sad what you sort of find out about, for me, the grandparents as well. As a kid, you don't think to ask these questions and have these conversations, but you generally find out the most in a funeral when they're sort of going through life. And you're like, fuck, I didn't even know that. So, yeah, it's interesting. I'm not sure where I'm going with that, but
I don't know. You make a fair point, and we are straightening up a bit here. But like it is sad that unfortunately we do find out so much, after the fact, and that's why family's so important. And you really you really do have to, get around your family and learn, especially the older generation as well. They do have a whole lifetime that have experienced, and if you haven't learned what they've done, then you're probably missing out on a lot and can learn a lot. So no, that's a really cool, most valuable possession, Logan, for sure.
It is, definitely. But I'd still take it to the fucking pawn shop. Just to see. I'd get an expert to look at it. Just to see.
quick value.
You have any documentation with that?
It's insurance purposes, really.
Sorry, we are just belt-fed reality TV from the States, so our perception of America is just, it's crazy.
It's always interesting to hear, and someone from a different country, like they're the main things that stick out to them, from what they've seen or what they've heard. So I always enjoy hearing about it.
Yeah, I mean, it goes both ways. I mean, from the Americans I've talked to, they think we all ride kangaroos to school and there's drop bears and all that sort of stuff. So
There is drop bears.
Drink beer, we're misogynists. What else is there? So I guess there's some truth into it.
I've got to ask you the question.
Have you ever ridden a kangaroo?
What's your thoughts on Australia and what's your sort of perception on us? Not as us, but as a country.
Pretty laid back. Can hold your alcohol a lot better than other nationalities.
I don't know if that's something to be proud of, man.
so far,
Passed down generation to generation, right?
two correct so far.
And honestly, I think that you'll have the coolest accent. So I do think Afrikaans is, might be.
Yeah, no, I agree. Fucking 1,000 times better.
Yeah.
That or Kiwis.
Nah.
Kiwis or South Africans. Fucking, yeah.
No, I don't rate Kiwi. Sorry to all our Kiwi guests we've had on, but I don't rate the Kiwi accent.
Irish is good.
I think South African is good. Or, Afrikaans.
Here's one, talking about accents. Do you find that we talk too quick? Because my sister, when she was younger, she went over and did like a school exchange thing and spent 12 months there and ended up staying for another 12 months. But when she first arrived, like her host family were like, you need to fucking slow down because you talk so damn fucking quickly. Like, and that sort of stuck with me because their kids came over here, and when I met their kids, it was the same thing. They were like, "What? What are you saying? Like, I don't get what you're saying." Is that true? Like, do we talk too quick?
I think I would say not too quick, but it seems as though a lot faster than what we're used to here in the States. Yeah. Although there are regions here in the States that, I mean, you go to some parts of Louisiana, there's no way that anyone can understand them. Yeah,
But that's because they mumble.
It's because they've all got a mouthful of jambalaya, Josh.
Yeah, nice one, Caleb.
No, we do run our words together. So, you know, if we say, how are you going, mate? We're like, how's it going, mate? So
No, how you going?
No, it's all one word. There's no spaces.
Yeah, it's all one word. But
Right.
I found that when we had Chris on the podcast, we were sort of going, man, you've slowed down a lot. So he's a lot more deliberate and slow with his speech now, which was surprising, I think.
But they also have over the counter fucking Adderall. And really so yeah,
slow you down, yeah.
yeah, focus.
Just spiking his drinks at night. Just to slow him down. Just a permanent drug. Why?
Oh shit.
All right, well, let's change it up. Logan, what is your favourite movie?
So Man from Snowy River, Dances with Wolves, and The Boondock Saints. I couldn't keep it to just one. Those are my three.
All right, well, the first one, obviously an iconic Australian movie. Did Chris introduce you to that? How did that come about? Because that's a random one for us.
It is. It is because it's a B grade movie.
No, it's fucking.
It's a good movie, but it's
good
B
movies.
grade.
Well, it's Australian.
Oh, definitely. But no, I was introduced to that movie goodness, when I was 7, 8 years old. I was just a little kid. I grew up riding horses. I showed horses and all of that good stuff. And that movie is actually, I think, the major thing that like sparked my love and interest in horses. So, and even though it's not a cinematic masterpiece by today's standards, like it's still one of my favorite movies. I love it.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. It's a good movie, but it's
I only just watched them recently, actually, because that was my old man's favorite movies.
this is probably really, really like left wing, and once again, it's Australian made movie, so it's B grade.
Left
and it's
field? Is that what you're getting
Left field,
I'm
sorry.
not sure where he's going.
I was going to
Left
say,
field.
you're not left wing.
But try Two Hands and Dirty Deeds if you can find them. Two Hands and Dirty Deeds. Two Hands had Heath Ledger in it. Fucking good movie about Aussie gangsters. Well, both of them are. And Dirty Deeds. You'll fucking actually. I get the feeling you'll be like, yeah, this is fucking good. They were both great. I think iconic Australian movies as well.
I mean, if you're going to go with them, I think you have to go with Chopper as well. 'Cause
Nah,
Yeah.
nah. I had this conversation the other day, but with old fucking Chop. See, I hate it because they're glorifying his life. Yeah, okay, the other movies.
So
were
does any movie.
fictional gangster movies, but it's just like, yeah, okay, I get it. You're a potty mouth fucking drug dealing murderer that's capitalising on your life of crime.
I just don't think you like the idea of him being able to hear better than you without ears.
So, you know about Chopper Reed, don't you? Surely Chris has shown you some stuff about Chopper Reed.
Honestly, I don't think he has.
Search it up.
God, he's a potty mouth, but he cut his own ears off in jail because he's a fucking fruitcake.
It was to get transferred out of where he was, though, because he was going to get killed otherwise. So,
Yeah.
a very iconic acting performance from Eric Bana as Chopper. And that's why I like it, because the acting performance is pretty crazy. It's a messed up story, but it's sort of it feels like a B grade movie as well,
A little bit.
but it's still that interesting. Bit like Man from Snowy River, I guess.
By the way, no one rides horses like that anymore. How do you?
You'd probably be surprised.
Don't
There'd be
ruin my
places.
dream. Come on.
Oh, dude.
Who's in? Is it Russell Crowe in Man from Snowy River?
I don't think so.
No, it is.
Or am I thinking
can't
of the
think of
series?
it.
I'm thinking of the series. I think.
He was on. I'm pretty sure he was on that cop show.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Talking about Blue Heelers?
That narrows
Yeah,
it
Blue
down.
Heelers. Yeah.
There was only one cop show back in the day.
Yeah, that's not narrowing it down.
Brian, not Brian.
can't think of
Brown,
it.
Tony Collette.
Brian Brown.
No, it wasn't Brian Brown.
Anyway, that's irrelevant. We'll we'll move on, I think.
Actually, talking about fucked up movies,
Oh,
I'm
yeah, we
watching
won't.
your Jeffrey Dahmer shit at the moment. Jesus, you in the States, you're cooked. You don't know about Jeffrey Dahmer?
No, you're the only one.
She's shaking her head because it's
That dude's fucked.
it's messed up.
I haven't seen it.
He's a serial killer from the States.
We know.
I mean, yeah. Have you read any? There was an article that came out. I'm not even halfway through that series that you're talking about.
Yeah, Mrs.
But there was an article that came out, and I forgot who it was, but someone who he was in prison with, ended up beating him to death. And one of the main reasons why the fellow inmate beat Dahmer to death was because during meal times, Dahmer kept taking his food and molding it into like various body parts just to fuck with the other inmates. And so one of them had enough and just killed him.
Fucking hell.
Fair enough.
Interesting little tidbit there.
Okay, that's fucked up in itself, but the fucked up that like the inmates killed a guy over fucking that is terrible.
I probably didn't need even that, to be honest.
Yeah, he seemed like a bit of a creep, to be honest. The first episode of that show, you sort of got to push through, but the second one, yeah, you're like, okay, this is intriguing, but fucked up.
It's definitely beyond fucked up, but you just can't stop watching.
Yeah, Couchy's going to go home and watch a belt feed it now.
Nah, it reminds me like the missus just started watching it.
Oh.
And we just got not we, but I just caught the end of the episode where that guy got out and then the cops he convinced the cops and the guy got brought back into him. Like he escaped and the cops thought it was his cousin or whatever, or boyfriend or whatever it was. And so it's pretty fucked up.
All right, I got a question. Your most infamous serial killer that you know in the States? Like, we sort of, we not idolise, but we have like a couple here, like
We're
Ned
all
Kelly.
convicts, so it's fine.
People like that. Surely there's one that stands out in your mind in America that you should go to when you're talking about serial killers.
Well, my goodness. I mean, obviously there's Dahmer, there's the toy box killers, there's Manson. I think Charles Manson might be like the most well-known.
Him or Ted Bundy, probably.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Bundy. Because I'm trying to think of some others, but I think those are the main.
Well, one that interests me, because I used to listen to a crime podcast a fair bit, is the Golden State Killer. So, and he got caught recently. He's got various names, but the Golden
He's
State
old,
Killer is the
isn't
only one. He's old now.
Yeah.
Only within the last couple of years, he finally got caught. But he was prolific all through like the 70s, and he just got away with it for so long because he was a failed cop basically, and so he knew and was reasonably fit. But that one sort of sticks out for me. I don't know why we've got fixated on serial killers, to be honest.
It took a turn.
We have them here too, Josh.
Yeah, but not like to the same extent, to be honest. But yeah, we just don't, because we're too busy drinking piss and fucking sitting on the couch.
Too easy going. Like he can be fuck killing multiple people.
It's a lot of effort doing it. Then you got to avoid everyone afterwards, and
It's too much planning involved. Fuck. Anyway, we'll roll on to the next question. Logan, recommend someone to be a guest on this podcast.
So I actually had 3 different people. Crystal Allison, who's one of my dear friends. She's also an international hunter. She works for the Dallas Safari Club. And I mean, she probably has more experience than I do as far as the ins and outs of planning hunts and trips. And she's been to more outfitters and things of that nature. And then my other friend, Martha Justice Moore, her father was one of the founding members of the Dallas Safari Club. She's also, she's the person who got me into guiding for the Texas Parks and Wildlife Youth Hunting Program. So every year we take groups of kids with one of their parents or guardians, and we take them out hunting, whether it's deer, nilgai, red deer, whatever we can. Usually property owners donate their land and their animals for those hunts. So she got me into guiding and educating the next generation coming up. But then also Timothy Keltner, who is probably one of the deadliest people you would ever meet, but you would never know it. I love him so much. He's just an all-around badass, one of the most knowledgeable people gun-wise that you could ever meet, and he's just a delight to talk to, and he has a wealth of knowledge. So
Kind of want to get him on just so I can be like, Timothy.
I'm sure there's more reasons to get him on. Hey,
Yes, right.
back to the taking the youth out. This is something that really interests me because over here, I was just talking to someone the other day. I mean, the first part of my question is, are these youth actually interested in going out hunting, or is this more from the perspective of, you know, sort of they've gotten in trouble and it's sort of to help them sort their life out sort of thing? Because I spoke to a guy the other day, and there's a program where we're from here in South Australia where they take kids from, you know, sort of bad backgrounds and they take them out in the Flinders Ranges here in South Australia, and it's to sort of help teach them some life skills. And
It's not hunting.
it's not hunting. No, it isn't. Not at all. But the guy I was talking to, he was involved in it. And for 2 weeks, they take kids out, you know, with a backpack for 2 weeks, and they go to hike and sleep under a hoochie, basically.
That's pretty cool.
And I was talking to him, and he said to me, well, do you think that's something that we could do with hunting as well? But I sort of said, well, with the behavioural issues of teens, you know, that would be a pretty risky endeavour. So
Just minimise the group.
I guess, you know, there's two halves of my questions. Is it just because they're interested and they want to learn it, or is it for the at-risk side of things? And how do you go with teenagers because they think they know everything?
Yeah, so with us, with our groups that we take out, it is just because of their interest,
Okay.
them just wanting to learn, to have that knowledge, and to learn about the resources and the opportunities for when they get older. I think the age starts at 8 or 9 years old and then goes up to 17. And obviously we break them up, you know, we try to have closer in age.
Do you think it could ever work in that sort of scenario? You know, the sort of programs I'm talking about where kids are from, you know,
Just disadvantaged.
yeah, disadvantaged kids are from a bad home sort of thing. Do you think that's because we know the benefits of hunting and being out there in the wild and the skills you learn. Do you see a world where that could sort of work for teens?
Oh, I think it definitely could be very, very valuable. I think it would have to come with a lot of structuring, just mainly from a safety standpoint for everyone.
For sure.
But like I said, those are everything that you learn out there. It's a valuable life skill. You can apply it to any area of your life. It's a confidence booster. They gain knowledge, self-reliance. So yeah, I think that it could be very beneficial for that application.
Do you find because you're dealing with firearms, there's a level of discipline and respect that is then imparted on a child?
I would say so, yes. Definitely. And especially with firearms, I mean, it's definitely imparting the seriousness of life and death and how you have to stop and think about your decisions. You know, you can't just handle it loosely. You can't just yank the trigger. You can't, you know, if you want to be successful, if you want to be safe, then you have to put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess with rifles and all that, things can change someone's life dramatically real quick and just out of something stupid. So,
Well, there's an age-old thing in the army, like if a guy was fucking up in training, especially in training, like some absolute bag of shit that just couldn't get his shit together, and they'd retrain him or punish him or punish the group because of him over and over again, nothing was working. Their last backup was actually to give them responsibility, right? So they'd be like, okay, so you'd have sort of designated 2 IC in the platoon for that day, and that would change daily. But if there was a shit fight in the platoon, they'd be like, okay, you now are 2 IC for the next week. And suddenly it was that level of responsibility, and it would just make them sort of switch on. It would turn that switch in their head, and they'd be like, "Oh, fuck," you know. And a lot of the times, they would excel. They would meet that standard real quick, like within a day or two. A lot of it was because of the like peer pressure. You were like, "Fuck, man! If you don't have your shit together, we're all gonna fucking hurt even more." And they would absolutely obliterate expectations. And I feel using a firearm can do that for kids. That's just me personally. It could either go two ways, definitely, but most of the time they're going to sort of come up to a conscious safety level.
I think, as well as responsibility, I think it comes down to when they play up, it's generally when they're bored or trying to find something to entertain themselves. But then having that responsibility, they don't have that sort of sections of time where they're really bored. They've always got sort of something to do.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's true.
yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Well, speaking of firearms, Logan, what was your first rifle?
It was a 270. My dad and his brothers grew up shooting that gun. It's kind of a Frankenstein gun by the time that I got it, because it was, the stock was chopped down because the little boys, my dad and his brothers growing up, were using it. And my dad didn't like the trigger, so he just like clipped off part of the trigger for some strange reason. And it's this ridiculous little rifle, but that's what I shot my first deer with. And it's one of the guns that I inherited, and I love that little gun.
What make is it, apart from Frankenstein? What's the actual?
Honestly, I don't even know, because they painted it for some reason. But I want to say it was probably like a Remington or something like that.
Hell yeah. American steel. I'm slightly disappointed because it wasn't an AR. Or like, yeah, I'm like, oh.
Sort of expand on that. What other rifles do you have, or firearms?
Oh, goodness. Well, we have several ARs.
Back in my graces.
One of my, I used to compete in 3-gun a lot. So I have my competition AR, my competition 12 gauge shotgun, which is a Beretta, my CZ75 Sport handgun. I can't tell you how many different handguns we have. But the CZ one is definitely my favorite. That's one of those guns where if I run out of bullets, it's so heavy I can just chunk it at someone and they're just gonna look at goodness, 243s, 7 mags. I have a 28 Nosler that's like my Cadillac of rifles. I could shoot that thing all day long. That one, no, my 7mm with, I think it was my 7mm or my 28 Nosler. I can shoot those consistently, 3 grouping at just over 1,100 yards. So those are my, doesn't matter what the range is. I know where to set it. It's perfect every single time. I love them.
Yeah.
Nice. Chris did mention you're a reasonable shot. How'd you go in the three-gun comps?
My uncle got me into the competition pistol shooting at an indoor range. So they would set up little real life scenarios and stuff with that organization. And then it just kind of blossomed. The next time I did a 2-gun competition, so pistol and rifle. And then it turned into 3-gun, and I finally got my own competition shotgun, and it's so much fun. I wish ammo wasn't what it is now and so expensive, because I would do it again. But yeah.
Yeah, we feel you here.
I can only imagine.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, it's probably 10 times worse, but
Yeah, when it's a semi.
All right, so I do have a question. What's next on your list to hunt?
Ooh, I honestly don't have much. I would love to take a roan in pretty much any sub-Sahara African country. I don't care which. But so I can't remember what their actual name is. I call them blue baller monkeys because they have sky blue balls. I think they're vervets. They're silver, like grayish silver, and then sky blue. Mainly because they taunted me the entire time that I lived over there. They are so smart. And they always knew whenever I had a gun hidden on the porch. I'd go out and smoke and drink my coffee every morning. Sometimes I'd have a gun hidden, sometimes I wouldn't. But they always knew when I had it there. I was never able to get one, but yeah. I want to.
Oh, them primates. They just know. 6th sense.
Yeah, they knew. But yeah, that's really the only thing on my list that like I would like to get. I've been fortunate to be able to cull a lot of animals, and even with those, I got some really nice mounts and whatnot from it. So,
What about in the States? What, like, have you chased elk, wolf, bear?
I haven't gotten to do any of that here in the States. Honestly, I've done more international hunting as an adult than I've done here in the States as an adult. So hopefully in the next few years, I'll be able to correct that.
Nice.
Yeah, hell yeah. You're in the place to do it. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's definitely more than accessible to you than it is for us. We've got to get to the States first. But this is something we definitely want to do at some point as a trio, just get over there. So
And come have a beer with both of you. Now we've met you. Obviously, we were unfortunate and met Chris a long time ago, but
Now that she's met you, she doesn't want that.
Well, you're welcome anytime. Just come on over.
Thank you. Vice versa, if you ever want to shoot
Something.
Yeah.
Not really.
deer, maybe some pigs. Oh, whoa.
We'll find something to shoot.
Yeah. Fox
I'd be
shooting.
happy with.
Actually, no, you'd have to come around and shoot a roo.
Well, yeah. Well, they got roo in Texas, man. There's game reserves with roos
Oh,
in
it's
them.
game reserve, though.
Yeah, but it's still a kangaroo. A dead set. You're going to be completely disappointed. You get here, we'll get you kitted up for the roo. You'll put fucking camo paint on your face, and you'll just walk within 3 meters, and the thing's going to be like, "What up, bruh? Yeah, sick." Like they are not difficult at all.
No.
it's definitely where you can bring your CZ and throw it at it.
Yeah,
Probably wouldn't even have to throw, just melt it.
yeah, pistol whip.
Yeah, just pistol with it. It'll be fine.
And then
It'll
run.
like golf mic, thanks.
They are that dumb. My gosh.
Talk about conservation efforts. They're protected here, so you can only shoot them under tag or permit. And there are more roos than human beings in Australia.
crazy.
They're everywhere. It is ridiculous. Like, you'll be at a park in the middle of town and you'll see roos, and you're like, what the fuck? Where'd you come from? But that's all right.
It's quite inconvenient for those of us who like to hunt deer as well because, the roos just scare everything off, unfortunately. So
Yeah, they know. They somehow just know how to, like, just scare off the deer every time.
Yep. It's annoying. But that's all right. I just hope they don't get out of your fences.
My question is, have the emus made a comeback yet? And if they do, is your military ready for them this year?
Fucking gaga.
Yeah.
I don't know if the video
embarrassing.
made it its way across there, but there's a bloke here. He got in a lot of trouble for running down about 6 roos in his ute. Emus, sorry. No, and so they're not making a comeback anytime soon. Everyone hates emus
There's
here.
plenty of them here.
There's still a fair bit about, yeah.
Yeah. It's just none of us have eaten one that I know of, and I don't think people eat them terribly too often.
I've tried emu. It's not great.
Oh, you have?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but like at a restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Not a fucking
So they're like just a bush chook that you're like, yep, cool. Next.
They look funny, and that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talking about like protected species and all that, I'm pretty sure they're off the protected list or not. But wolves, for you guys in America.
So we don't have any really here in Texas. I have seen a few in Louisiana, and I think up north they're still protected because I think the population is still growing. I do know that you can get tags for them, but
Okay.
there again, I think they're still technically protected, but I'm not sure.
Because I know from what I've heard, they went from protected to then huntable, and then they flipped on that pretty quickly because so many people try to hunt them.
I think in some states are.
Depends on it maybe depend on the location, but
I think Yellowstone, there were no wolves there in the recent past, and now they're making a comeback. And I think like Yellowstone still protect. I don't know, but
Yellowstone's it's got a national park.
yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely not allowed to hunt there.
Yeah. We like going to Monado and shooting there.
No, that's allowable.
At the zoo.
Got to get away with it. But no, I think I'm talking about population. Like I think there were no wolves there for a while, and now they're finally like migrating back into that area. So we only get hearsay here. Really, you got to watch TV and take it for face value when you're talking about American game.
Yeah.
Well, there were horrible, funny side story, but there was a woman just a week or two ago. It blew up on Facebook and things like that. But she was in, it was Wyoming or Montana, and she had posted, just so proud. She went out hunting for, I don't know, we'll say deer or elk or something, and she had posted these pictures. Full on trophy pictures, and even skinned it. It was like, posing with the pelt, claiming that she had shot a wolf puppy, and it was straight up the husky dog, like someone's pet.
Wow. Oh shit.
Some people just amaze me at how just idiotic they are, and so now that's been a whole big thing.
Have you hunted coyote much?
Yeah, a little bit. We occasionally would have a coyote problem on the ranch, whether it was the chickens or the newborn calves. So usually we just use calf carcass or whatnot to bait them in. But the area where our ranch is kind of grown up within the past 10 years, so we don't have nearly as many. Over in South Africa, we used to hunt jackals quite a bit. They were definitely a nuisance, so just a smaller, craftier, smarter coyote.
Coyotes seem like large foxes. Well, that's like, obviously we've never seen one in person, but just so their mannerisms very similar to our sort of red fox here, but bigger, obviously,
and pack animal.
But yeah,
and different colour.
No, they just said their mannerisms, mate. Fucking hell.
Anyway, well, it's been a very interesting chat with you, Logan, and I guess we can turn it around onto you now. Do you have any questions for us?
Okay, well, I already know that one of the states that y'all would like to visit is Texas. So, whenever y'all do get to come to Texas, what's one thing or one place that is just at the top of your bucket list, or something that you want to do?
Well, one thing for me, I've been talking to a guy, his name slips my mind right now, but on Facebook for ages. I've met him on a hunting forum, and he was saying if you wanted to come over pig shooting, hit him up, get over there and do it. So that's probably one thing I'll do just because I know I can go do it. But yeah, I'm not sure about you guys.
Probably don't have anything Texas specific, but I definitely want to get over to the States and hunt elk. That's sort of the top of my list in terms of international hunts. So that's probably going to be more Montana and sort of that sort of area for me. But I guess Texas, I just want to experience, we see everything on TV, everything's bigger in Texas and everything's big and bold and, all the carry on. But I actually just want to experience that firsthand, to be honest. So that's simple as that, really. See what all the hype's about, I guess. What about you, Josh? You love Texas.
Apart from the hunting, like elk, wolf, bear and everything that the state has to offer, Texas, because it's big and bold, but I actually like Americans. You are friendly people. It's not like here in Australia, you walk down the street and say g'day to someone, they're going to fucking stab you or fucking spit at you or they're just going to be like,
Are you for real?
They're fucking terrible here.
For real?
You just got shopping Audi, mate, with a bunch of like fucking 100-year-old women. Of course, they're going to be like, oh dear, that's all right. Can you get the Krispy Kremes off the top shelf for us or some shit? I don't know.
You obviously shop at Elizabeth.
I don't know what happens at Audi, but typically everybody I've met and spoken to from America has been pleasant. They've been.
To be fair, you've spoken to a lot more Americans being in the army and being overseas than me and Couchy.
Yeah.
I've only really run into Americans on holiday, both overseas and here. So I'm probably not getting the best version of Americans.
You get a mix of, yeah.
I was going to ask, what about American tourists over there? What's the general consensus?
Not a fun time. Not a fun time.
What?
So here, when they're in Australia, yeah, cool, because they love Australians sort of thing. When I've experienced American tourists in like Europe, for example, you're like, can you shut the fuck up and stop being so rude? So in different countries, the experience is very different. So hence why I want to get over there and experience firsthand. I mean, you've had a lot of Americans in the army, Josh, so that's skewed as well.
Yeah, it definitely is skewed. There's one thing as well that I consistently hear from people that have been travelled around the world, and they'll talk about, we did a fucking tiki tour in Europe, or we went to England, or and we went to America, and you ask them which one did you like the most. They might say Europe because of the architecture and the history that's there, but they will never say a bad word about visiting the States. You ask them like directly, how was the States? Absolutely amazing, great people, heaps to do, cheap. We have a ridiculous cost of living here. So they're all like, you want a Coke? It's fucking cents, not dollars sort of thing. And once again, I think, and this almost comes back to the whole restaurant and tipping thing. Obviously, if you're polite and you do your job well, and have some assertiveness as a fucking hell, as a waiter or waitress, the more tips you get. So even just dining in the States is going to be a different experience to here, because, mate, here they're just like, what do you fucking want? That table service is rare unless you go to a high-priced restaurant, and even then they'll just be like, you ready to order? And you're like, fucking hell, mate, I just sat down. Can I have a drink?
Logan, you know those old men you were talking about before? Can you imagine him in 40 years' time? Because he's bad enough as it
It's
is.
going to be amazing.
Anyway, we have to congratulate you on being a very fine exponent of Americans and American culture and getting that across to us. It's been definitely a very interesting chat. You've had quite an interesting life by the sounds, and I'm sure our listeners will enjoy getting to know you. Now, is there anything you want to plug in particular, like social media or any sort of organisations that you want people to check out?
I mean, most of my social media is a little Texan abroad. Organizations, I mean, the Dallas Safari Club, the Tomorrow Outdoors Foundation. So they're a nonprofit, and they bring outdoor education into our public school system. So basically, instead of PE or gym class, students can actually take this class, their outdoor program. So they learn camping, outdoor cooking, outdoor survival, of course, firearms, bow hunting, you name it, land nav. They actually teach these kids in our public school system all of these valuable life lessons. So that's a great organization that's very near and dear to my heart. So
Hell yeah, that
Fuck
sounds pretty
yeah.
cool. Awesome.
Yeah, I need to bring that here. Can you open a branch here in Australia or every state?
I'll come over and start it up, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, our kids need to benefit from it. That's for certain. Because
They need to what?
benefit from that sort of program. Fucking hell. I might say.
I'm going to save that little bit and send it to you in the week about what you actually just said then, because it made no sense, whatever. Anyway, we got to say a big thank you to Logan for being on the podcast. Cheers for being on.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, mate. It's a pleasure.
No, thank you all so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. So we'll leave it there. But Josh, you've got a little important announcement that we need to bring to our listeners' attention. If they haven't heard already in regards to bow hunting here in South Australia, we've got to get this across.
This is true. So, as we all know, in Australia at the moment, they banned bow hunting in Tasmania, and South Australia has or is trying to pass a bill to ban bow hunting here. This is only recent, a couple of weeks ago, I think it started. By the time you're hearing this, it might be obviously a couple of weeks later. But if you are a bow hunter or if you're a hunter in general, can you please jump online? There is a form or a petition that you can sign stating that you're against that. So please jump on, sign the petition and send it back and stop this ludicrous law from being passed, because it'll be a first step to the rest of the states. So,
Yeah, exactly.
bit of a serious note, no bullshit, get on it, fucking squish it in the ass and let's move on.
I think one thing to point out for this as well is I think regardless of what sort of hunting sort of technique that you decide to use, I think it's time to show our government that we are a hunting community and not just separations of like little sections.
Yeah, they were united. Like, if you don't like bow hunting and you only go out with a rifle, then it doesn't matter. Like, this is going to affect everything. And once they start eroding into this, the laws, even more so than taking away the liberties, then it's going to happen in your discipline as well, in rifles.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
we need to, as Josh said, not quite squish it in the butt, but maybe nip it in the butt.
But you're right, man. It's just they play the long game, these people. They just start small and take a bit of your freedoms away, and then over 10 years suddenly they've taken leaps and bounds off of you. So let's get on it, because it's absolutely pathetic. A tradition that's we've done for as a civilization for thousands and thousands of years. It's ludicrous and stupid.
Exactly. So get that petition signed, everyone, and also make sure your family and friends, if you can get them to sign it as well, the numbers count. So make sure you do that. And,
Sorry to end it on a fucking serious note, because that was a bit morbid.
we do have to be serious sometimes, but this is very near and dear to us. So important that you guys get on and support as well. And, we'll be back next week with another episode. Thanks for listening to this week. Hope you enjoyed our episode with Logan. Certainly very interesting chat.
It was.
Thanks, Logan.
Thanks, mate.
cheers, mate.
Well, thank you.
Say hi to Chris for us too. Give him a fucking dick slap.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
Dad.
G'day, dude and dudettes. Josh here. Do you find it hard to keep your long, hard barrels free from gun STDs? Maybe you need a clean out of your bore. If this is you, jump on over to highcaliber.com.au and use the promo code SENDITMATE to receive a 10% discount on all your gun cleaning needs. And remember, it's sexy to support Australian-made products. Everyone here at Send It Mate uses High Caliber, and we can promise you that it'll keep your firearms free from those pesky gun STDs.